you should never have to ignore how you feel. We're not out here just intending to ruin people's lives. You're never gonna work with someone you're not meant to be with. The second you leave is the second you heal. No one is going to leave for you. You owe it to yourself to consider yourself enough to do that. This question's really gonna do something to you. Hi, welcome to my channel if you're new here. If you're not, welcome back. But if you are new, my name is Kaylee. I make a lot of lifestyle content. This is a little bit different, but I really wanted to share this. It's been on my heart to share. So if you clicked on this video, it's probably because you are questioning whether or not a relationship, a friendship is worth staying in or not.
Is leaving the right option? Is staying the right option? What do I do?
I've been there way too many times. So I wrote it down in this sour diary that my friend Amika actually got for me. Thank you, Amika. I write so many different things in here, but one of the things is what I'm going to talk about in this video. Again, like I said, this can pertain to a romantic relationship, friendships too, maybe even family members, even something that has nothing to do with people. It could be like a job, school, any situation. I feel like some of this stuff can apply to. So I think this video can benefit everyone. Let's hop right into it. So the first thing I wrote down is that I want you to understand that it's okay to be scared of leaving. I'm just gonna kind of go like friendship, relationship wise in this video. It's normal to be scared. It's okay to feel scared. For me personally, I'm like terrified of ending any sort of relationship. And when I realize it's because not only are you leaving that person, but you're also leaving a big chunk of what you know. And what I mean by that is if it's especially someone that you're close to, you probably talk to them all the time. You might hang out with them all the time, spend a lot of time with them. You might have a lot of memories with them. Anytime you get good news, you might tell this person, yada, yada, yada. It's like your life kind of quote unquote revolves around them in some way. And so when you leave them, you're also kind of leaving a little part of your life too, and that's why it's so scary, because your life is going to change either a lot or even just a little bit. It's going to change in some way when you leave this person. Change is scary, we all know that. It's okay if you feel that way. It's normal. I want to validate you on that. And also another thing I want to touch on quick is that sometimes people we leave aren't people that we're leaving because of anything bad. It could just be you're outgrowing someone and maybe you don't want to lead them on. You don't want to force the connection anymore. That's okay too. That's normal too. I've had plenty of people in my life that I've outgrown. Ever since I graduated high school, I've noticed like I just don't talk to really anyone anymore. And I'm in the place right now where I'm trying to make new friends and people that I will meet with the person I am now, because everyone else met me at a version of me that I'm no longer anymore. So I'm noticing that a lot of my connections are fading, and again, not because of anything bad, but because we're at different stages of our lives right now. So it's like we're going like this, not like this together. And that's okay. Just don't feel like you have to force any type of connection to stay. I know sometimes we feel bad, like, oh no, we've been friends since like elementary school, but okay, like that's great. But if you're not meant to be friends in the place that you are right now in life, there's nothing wrong with that. There's no hard feelings. You're literally just outgrowing each other. And if you just have that conversation with that person, I'm sure they'll understand. And if not, you can send them this video and help them understand. Honestly, another thing too, and I want to emphasize this, I strongly advise working on self-growth, personal development. That's something I've been working on a lot recently. And ever since I've started to work on that, I've noticed a huge difference in my ability to let go of people, because in the past I was horrible at it. I get so attached to people, and letting go is like one of the hardest things. Even if I know logically that I should, I'm like, no, but I care about them, or yada yada yada, whatever the reason is, and I fight myself on it. It's like my brain and my heart are just completely opposite. And you might feel that way too. It's normal. We all feel that way. I know it's not just me. But the second you work on yourself, you grow a connection with yourself, and you become a version of you that you realize will no longer work with that person. And so that makes it a little bit easier. In some ways I like to work on that are just really listening to podcasts, journaling, praying. You know, I'm a Christian. Just watching positive videos, and not just watching them but applying them too. It's one thing to like watch something just like this video, it's another thing to actually apply them. I'm reading more, so many different things. That could be a whole separate video of what I do for personal development, but that's a place to start. That was just some things I wanted to let you guys know, but this is like, all right, these are the things you really need to know. This video isn't like let go of everyone. No, it's just this video I want to help you decide the relationship relationships you have in your life. Maybe you're thinking of one right now, like, do I stay or not? I don't know. One big thing to realize, everyone you meet is always on their best behavior in the beginning. Whether it's someone that wants to date you, someone that wants to be your friend, whoever it is, they're gonna be on their best behavior in the beginning. We all are. Okay, myself included, because we want to show this person that we are worth being cared about, loving. They're gonna be trying their absolute hardest not to mess up, not to not get you. So they're gonna be on their best behavior. But the second they get you, they're gonna slack off. They're not gonna feel like they need to try as hard because they have you now. They don't feel like they're trying for something. They have you, they're secure in that. And when that happens, they're more prone to make a mistake. We all do, it's human nature to make mistakes, but they're gonna be more prone to do that because they're not trying as hard not to. I'm a really big forgiving person, so I give chances. But I remember there was one specific person in my life where I was like, oh my gosh, like they were so nice in the beginning. Perfect in every way. And the second they had me, it was red flag after red flag after red flag, and I'm like, what happened? They didn't have to try as hard to get me anymore. They had me. And when I realized this, I was like, oh yeah, well, of course they were gonna be on their best behavior in the beginning. We all are. And do you remember what I said about your brain and your heart tends to be, you're gonna hear cars in the background, whatever. Your brain and your heart sometimes is like, you know, opposite. When you're faced in a situation where you're deciding whether or not to leave or to stay, you need to think logically, think with your brain and not your heart, okay? Because sometimes when they're fighting, you're like, which one do I listen to? And most people will be like, oh, listen to your heart. Yeah, that's great and all, but sometimes you have to think logically in order to make the right decision. Love logically. I love that. Love logically. I'm gonna do something with that someday. Don't only listen to your heart, because what your brain tells you is worth listening to as well. You're not getting these doubts and these questions in your mind for no reason. There's a reason why those are coming up. You need to listen to those things too and consider yourself. Listen to what you have to say, not just what your heart feels. I'm sorry, I know, that's probably not what you wanted to hear, but it's what you needed to hear. But now, a question I want to ask you. Think of someone in your life, whether it's a partner, a friend, maybe a family member, like I said, just any type of situation that you're considering removing yourself from. Ask yourself what those reasons are. Make a list. Whatever you want to do, DM me, write it somewhere. You can say it out loud, do what you gotta do, say it in your head. What are those reasons? You can pause the video if you have to. Think of those reasons. Even if there's one, it could be one reason. Just what is the reason / the reasons why you're considering leaving? Because you wouldn't be considering leaving if there wasn't a reason to consider leaving. All right, you don't just leave someone just to leave. I mean, you shouldn't. That's kind of weird. Now once you have those reasons, I want you to ask yourself, if a friend or someone you're close to were to come up to you with these reasons as to why they're considering removing themselves from this person's life, what would you tell them? I'm not saying you have to tell them like yes or no, because we don't make decisions for other people, but what would you tell them in that situation to maybe help guide them towards an answer that they need to figure out themselves? And there you go, because you're the person who needed those answers. So you just answered your own question, but you just changed the perspective and put it on someone else. It doesn't even have to be a friend. What would you tell your kid? What would you tell them if they came up to you with those concerns? There you go. Another question I have for you. Do you feel like you have to ignore how you feel in order for the relationship, the friendship, whatever, to work? If the answer is yes, you can stop the video right here. I'm kidding. I got more to say. If the answer is yes, that's a big red flag. I was there though. I get it. You should never have to ignore how you feel in order for it to work. You should never have to put someone above you or to make someone else priority over you in order for it to work. Replay that, hear that again if you need to. That is just so wrong on so many levels and so many ways. Do not choose someone over yourself. I know people who struggle with self-love really struggle with this. I was there. But again, along with the whole self-growth thing, like, you can work on that. You're not stuck there. If the person you are thinking about right now, or just anyone in general, does not consider how you feel and just expects you to deal with it, get over it. Oh my gosh. Sorry, that just sent me back. Get over it. I can't help but laugh when people tell me that. I'm like, you get over it. When I leave then. Anybody who loves you, if they truly do love you, they will never just expect you to deal with what they're putting you through. ever. Anybody who truly loves you, wants you in their life, will change their behavior, apologize, figure out what they're doing wrong. Because I get it, sometimes I mess up and I do something that hurts someone and I didn't even intend to. I didn't even realize that what I was saying or doing was upsetting them or bothering them. But I appreciate when people come to me and let me know it bothered them, because like I said, sometimes I'm not aware of it. I know it may seem silly. There's certain situations where it's like, okay, like cheating, for example, you're aware of that one, buddy. That's a whole different subject. Just sometimes, especially when it comes to like just saying something, sometimes people get offended by certain things we don't know, and we all make mistakes sometimes. But if someone tells me I said or did something that bothered them, like, I'm gonna try to figure out a way to fix it. I'm gonna apologize. I'm gonna do whatever I can to let them know, hey, like, I'm sorry, I did not mean to do that, you know, unless I did. But we're not out here just intending to ruin people's lives. I could go on about this one for so many days, because I just feel like my entire life people never have considered me, and this isn't a rant with Kaylee session, but if you feel the same way, if you're in a relationship with someone, friends with someone, and they're not considering how you feel, that's not a green flag. That's in fact, yes, a red flag, and we don't put up with that. We give them a chance, and if they ruin that chance, they don't need another one. I've given people more than 1 second chance. Technically only 1 second chance, because the next one was a third and a fourth and a fifth, but I'm a very forgiving person. I genuinely do believe that people will change at some point, and I like to see when that will be. But when it's at the expense of my mental health, sometimes it's just not worth it. It shouldn't take them more than 1 chance to get it right, to not treat you bad. Leave the people who don't make you feel appreciated, considered, valued, respected. You are worth so much more than staying somewhere where you're not treated like you are worth what you are. And it's just the hard truth. I know it's hard to hear sometimes, because maybe the person you're thinking about right now, you just care so much about them and that's why you're struggling to leave. But like I said, think logically. If they're not treating you right, and if they're not fixing their actions, not considering you, telling you to get over it, I'm sorry you feel that way, you can kindly just pray for them and distance yourself from that. And you don't have to feel guilty about doing that, because if they're not going to consider you, you need to consider you. Because again, this is another harsh reality. If you listen to them telling you to get over it because you care about them and you want them in your life despite being treated poorly, all you're doing is teaching them that you are not worth being considered. Clearly they already knew that you're not worth being considered if they're not considering how you're feeling. But if you stay in that relationship, you didn't consider yourself either. So what did you just teach them? That you're not worth being considered. Don't do that to yourself. Remove yourself, show them what it's like to consider someone, and there you go. I'm like sweating. This topic like gets me going. What's the next thing I wrote? Oh, so one quick thing I wanted to point out is that no one is going to leave for you. That's up to you. You're in control. I know that in like a relationship, for example, if you don't leave, well, maybe they will. Okay, that's a little bit different, but I'm saying you are the only one who will leave. Like, I can sit here and I can tell you all this stuff, but it doesn't mean you have to apply it. That's on you. You are in control. So whether you stay or leave, that's up to you. So just know that when you're like,
do I leave or not?
like, it's not just gonna happen for you. That's your decision. I know sometimes we feel like we're just stuck with someone because we care about them. No, you're not. Like, you can care about someone from a distance. I had to learn that the hard way. And I won't touch on this too much because it's kind of basically the same thing, but like, do they expect you to be okay with the things that they would not be okay with? Because if they do, no explanation needed. Like, that's messed up. Okay, last question. Is this person holding you back from your goals? This is one that I never really thought about too much until recently, but now that I look back on it, there was definitely a few people in my life who, if I were to still be friends with them today, I wouldn't be where I'm at on YouTube. Just in my life, I probably wouldn't have worked on my personal development as much. Some people just hold you back from that, and it doesn't necessarily mean that's an intentional thing they're doing. A lot of times it's not intentional at all. I guess some people you're close with, you might like push off something you want to do because of them. There's a way to focus on your goals without being selfish, because absolutely, like, make time for people, but like, if you have something you want to get done, they should respect that and not get mad at you, as long as you communicate with them. Like I said, as long as you go about it in a healthy way. But nobody should be holding you back from your goals. And if you want to talk romantic relationship, when you're in a relationship, I want you to be aware that, like, married relationship, like, you aren't this with them. Like, you are two people. So remember, when you grow apart from someone, you go like this. You're two different people and you're going like that. When you get married, for example, you're not, okay, we're together, we do the same thing. No, you're a lot closer, yeah, so you might be like this, but you should still be two different people going the same direction, not one person going the same direction. Does that make sense? Like, you should still be able to do what you want to do. If you're like this with them, you have to be doing the same thing as them. That's what? This can go for a friendship too. You're two separate people with two separate lives, two separate goals, whatever, and you should be going like this. And in a relationship, for example, maybe there's days where like you're slacking a little bit, but you're still going the same direction, and then you can come back to stay. Was that a good visual? I don't know. It should be like that and not feel like, oh, now that you're with this person, you can't do what you want to do anymore. I said that was the last question. There's actually one at the very end, I'm almost done, that I want to ask, but we'll get there in a second. Make a list of things that you would need this person to change in order for you to 100% like no questions asked, like they're mine, I'm with them. What are the reasons why you're considering leaving, and then what would need to change in order for those to not be reasons anymore? And once you have this list, you can pretend you're going to a friend, or a friend's coming to you with this list. Tell them like, what would you do? But when you have this list, ask yourself like, is this person capable of changing these things? If they're not considering you, if they're not listening to how you feel, and they've shown you that maybe numerous times, no, maybe this person isn't someone that is necessarily going to do this, at least for you. That one's really interesting because it's like right in front of your face. Wow. Okay, this is what we need to change, and they haven't changed it. They haven't even told me that they want to, or haven't shown any effort, any action behind their words. It's right in front of my face. This is not someone I want to be with, be friends with. There's your answer. Do not settle, because again, when you think with your heart, it's really easy to look at that list and get in your head and be like, I wish this person would change this, but I care about them, so forget this list, forget me, forget how I feel, don't consider me either, and you settle for someone. And that's not fair to you. You're never gonna work with someone you're not meant to be with. Don't settle. Take care of you. Consider yourself. It's not selfish to take care of you. It's not selfish to consider yourself. Sometimes we think it is, but sometimes we're the only ones who do it. Okay, it's time for the last question. This one's gonna blow your mind. It blew mine away when I heard it. I actually heard this question in a podcast, and it completely changes how we look at everything now, not even just relationships and friendships, but things that I get involved in, all right, like situations in my life. Wow, this question's really gonna do something to you. So if you're thinking of a person, situation, whatever you've been thinking about this entire video, do you want that thing, that someone, forever? This will give you an entire new perspective, because sometimes when we're dealing with someone that we're going back and forth with, we're in the moment and we're like, whatever, I'll deal with it. But when you think about the word forever, you start thinking about obviously the future, your future self, maybe your future family. You start putting all those things into question. And when you think, do I want that person to be, for my case, like my husband, do I want this person to be the father of my kids? Do I want this friend to be heavily involved in my life? For a lot of you, this answer is going to be no. And if some of you is yes, that's great. You found your answer. Because like I said, not all of you are going to, say no in this. But do you want this forever? Y'all, I don't know if you've noticed, but I literally be going back and forth all the time in my life right now. My life's a little bit chaotic. I'm like starting this job, leaving that one, going to this college, leaving that one, going to this. I'm like, do I want this forever? Do I want this forever? I'm like, no. I'm a mess right now. We're figuring it out. I'm figuring out what I want forever. And one thing I realized, just to throw this in here because it's sentimental, one thing I realized is YouTube is something I want forever, and that's never changed. YouTube's been like the one consistent thing in my life for me. But back to this. If you just said no, that's big. I know I've asked a lot of interesting questions, but that one's big. Because if you don't want that thing forever, that someone forever, then why are you still with them? Why are you still in that situation? Some situations are a little bit harder to get out of, marriage, for example. But you can take the steps. You're not just, like I said, stuck there. You can take action. Even if it's small action, that small action will lead up to the end result of not being with them. And what I found, it's a lot harder to stay in a situation you don't want to be in than to leave it and heal from it. My personal experience, maybe that could be controversial for people, but sometimes we think that it's going to be way harder to leave it, but the second you leave is the second you heal. But when you stay, you never heal. So new perspective. But I also want you to know, like, you're fully allowed to leave. Like I said, you're in control, but you're allowed to. Sometimes we think,
I like as I'm a bad person, like I can't leave, like I'm stuck here.
Like, no, you're not. You're not. You are fully allowed to leave. You have my permission to leave a situation you're not happy in. You're allowed to do that. You owe it to yourself to consider yourself enough to do that. I'm gonna leave you on that note. I hope this helped you in some way. If you know of a friend or someone in your life who you feel could really use this message right now, definitely share it with them. Let me know in the comments your thoughts, if this helped you or not. I love feedback. Like this video so it helps get it in like the YouTube algorithm so more people can see this, because I really think a lot of people need to hear this. And I owe all this completely to like the self-development I've been doing. I would not have this awareness right now and this mindset if I wasn't actively learning about this stuff and experiencing it. Sometimes experience is how you learn, so there's that. There's always a silver lining and everything. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.